Hariom Tat Sat Yogis. Welcome to Easy Like Sunday morning. Please remember to like and share and tell your friends. We really need this medicine in the world right now. Come to a seated position. Make sure you've got props. It's yin. Always come with props. You are going to need at least 2 blankets that are folded up in such a way where you can stack them on top of each other and they look like this. And then also the other most important part of this is that we are at a wall. So find yourself a wall, set up at the wall. Make sure you got at least 2 blankets, your eye pillows, your blankets, things for warmth, and come to sit in a comfortable seated position. I'm going to start in Vajrasana, but we're very welcome to sit in Sukhasana and even sit in Sukhasana, so just with your legs crossed, on a blanket or a pillow or a book to elevate your spine. So let's arrive. Just resting the hands in the lap. This is quite a nice mudra with the thumb pads touching and just resting the fingertips in the fingers in the palms of the hand. Inhale the shoulders up into the ears and exhale, roll them away. Just take a moment to draw the belly to the spine. I know we're yinning, but I just want you to arrive in your body. And often these kinds of engagements are the things that help us to become present, making these little adjustments. And then when you feel like you've adjusted, then let everything just soften. You can let the back round a little bit. You can slump a little bit. Maybe you take another deep breath and exhale, sighing it out. You take as many of those as you need. And then just coming to some stillness, coming to the breath. Just beginning to lengthen and deepen the breath. And then soften some more. It never ceases to amaze me how much more I can soften in a pose. Let something else just go, let it just drip down. And as you sit here, allowing a sankalpa to surface for yourself, an intention for today's practice, an intention that you can extend beyond your practice, beyond yourself. It's always nice if your sankalpa serves yourself and others, but really the truth is, as long as you are looking after yourself and your needs are being met and your sankalpa is one that is in alignment with your heart and your spirit, then it will benefit others. When you are in alignment with your deepest, most authentic, most present self, then the choices that you make are naturally from a well of abundance for not just yourself, but for all of creation. Noticing if there is any tenderness yet in the shins or the ankles or the tops of the feet if you're in Vajrasana. If you're in Sukhasana, noticing if the back is starting to feel a little tired, the shoulders are rounding a little. So that Sankalpa practice is a present positive statement, present tense positive statement. Something along the lines of, I am financially free. I flow with the river of life. You can be less woo-woo. It can be something like, I transition with ease. But a true sankalpa is one that is surfaced for yourself. When that has arrived in your head, stating it in that present tense 3 times. And then as you release that 3rd prayer, seeing if there's anything else that you can soften. Guys, my elbows can come a little bit closer to my body. And then from this state, let yourself round completely into the back. So whether you're seated on your haunches or on your sit bones, your bottom, round completely into the back. If you've got an essential oil nearby, I applied some just before, so Taking a little whiff there. Allow the back to round all the way down. So if you are in your Vajrasana, you're just going to walk yourself forward into a sort of a loose extend, a full child, but sort of a combo. So just resting the forearms down on the ground, push back into your heels for a second. Let the back round all the way down. So forehead and crown of the head are dropping down to the ground. If you can't get the crown of the head or the head down to the ground, you're always able to use a prop there. So you can put a prop right below your forehead. Any kind of a prop, a blanket, a pillow, a book, a towel. And if this is very uncomfortable between your heels and your thighs, your calves and your thighs, you can always put a pillow or a blanket or some such thing there. So that's if you're in Vajrasana. If you are seated in Sukhasana, then you're just rolling all the way forward. So this is going to be a little bit more interesting for your hips. And again, it's not so important whether your forehead is touching the ground. That's less important. If you need to use a prop, even here, that's totally fine. We're going to be here for a little bit. If you find that in Vajrasana you're really struggling, you can always come out and come into Sukhasana. Just remembering that we don't want to go beyond our challenge, the place where we feel safe, so safety. You don't want to feel pain, but you do want to feel challenged. You don't want to feel like you're making a commitment to stay in the discomfort. That's essentially how our yin practice works, is making a commitment to stay in the discomfort. Explore the darkness. I often sort of think of my yin practice as my shadow work. Shadow work is when we're exploring some of the parts of ourselves that we're a little less pleased with, a little afraid of, maybe even discomfort, pain. We don't want pain in yin, but some of our emotional pains can sometimes begin to surface. And when these things surface in us, our yin practice teaches us how to remain present in them, how to just really feel them. If you are in your Vajrasana on your haunches, begin to walk your hands back. And you're going to come into a little twist. So whichever seated position you're in, just take your one hand onto its opposite knee. Doesn't matter which side you go to first. And exhale, twist. And slide the chin across the chest, come back to center. And twisting the other way. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Ooh, excuse me. It's working. I'm so sorry. And just allowing the belly to soften. And release it, come back to the center. If you're on Sukhasana, then just walking your hands, or in Sukhasana, walking your hands forward, roll over so that we can all come to all fours. And begin to move through some really slow and delicious cat and cow. So in our cat and cow version of yin, we really just want to move as slow as humanly possible. Really, really rounding the back, even locking the elbows slightly in your cat. Bending your elbows a little, really allowing that tailbone to flare open. Press the floor away from you. And then explore a little bit of organic movement. You can take your knees a bit wider or take your hands a little bit wider. Just rolling around into the hips. Rocking from side to side, moving backwards and forwards. You can do whatever feels good for you here. I'm not being too prescriptive about this. If you're a regular practitioner or a regular yogi, you know what your desire is. So moving towards that space. If you're unsure and you're relatively new to yoga or relatively new to yin, then you just stick somewhere in this range of this cat and cow, maybe a little hip rotation. Taking 2 or 3 or 4 more breaths. Slow as you can. And then beginning to walk your hands back towards your knees. Turn your feet out to one side. It doesn't matter which side, probably the side that you can still see me in. And we're going to head to the wall now. So we're going to do this supported. So you can see here, this is actually quite high. You don't need to have that high a ramp for your lower back. So it all depends on your capacities, your capabilities, what you have on hand. You can even go lower than this, even I promise you, you'll even feel that. So picking a level that you have the props for and the capacity for. So obviously the higher up you're going, the more that intensity is going to be in your lower back. So coming into this, you want to get your supports right up to the wall. And then you're coming to the side, taking your hip to the wall and taking your hip right up to the wall. If you don't have any props at all, you don't want to use props at all, you can just do this without the props, no problem either. So this is the part that feels a little tricky. If you are not super flexible, taking the left hand around, or whichever hand is your hand here, and then taking the legs up the wall, squidgling your bottom, kind of walking your bums towards the wall, coming down onto forearms, elbows rolling down onto your back. You can make adjustments here by putting your feet flat onto the wall and then lifting your bum a little higher, maybe even coming into a little bit of I really like this, a supported wall shoulder stand. So this is quite nice. I'm not kind of officially doing this. Oh, you shouldn't do that either. Don't look. Once you are in a position where your chin is tucked into your chest in this way, please don't look from side to side. So if you need to have a look what's going on, rather come out and, pause and have a proper look. So maybe you've spent a little bit of time in this sort of supported shoulder stand. You didn't have to. You could have adjusted and just settled in. It's not an official part of the sequence. It just feels nice. And it doesn't matter how far away from the wall your bum is. So you can have your bum a little bit closer to the wall. Again, that depends on the flexibility of your spine. So I'm giving you some time to settle in. And basically you're heading towards having your legs up the wall, heels in line with hips. The lower back is super heavy on the ground and the palms are facing up. Inhale and exhale, side out through the mouth. Allow the eyes to gently close. This is in fact a position where you could use your eye pillow. I'm a huge eye pillow fan. So you're very welcome to reach for your eye pillow. Also very welcome to reach for your essential oil if it's nearby. We're in a longish hold here. So we're allowing the lower back, the entire back in fact, to just settle onto the ground, soften the chin into the chest. Breathing some really deep breaths. I really encourage a few really committed sighs during a yin practice. And then begin to lengthen and deepen the breath. Just allowing the heart to open. Heels to just melt down into the wall. awareness to the sounds that you can hear in the distance. Sounds outside of this room. Not necessarily trying to identify those sounds. Just hearing them, listening for them. Really engaging your sense of listening. Imagining almost that your ears are shaped like satellite dishes. And that every sound for hundreds and thousands of miles can be perceived by you. With your next breath, bend the elbows and cactus them on either side of your head. Soften the chin back into the chest a little more. Let the lower back peel slightly away from the ground if it does. And breathe. And then changing the setting on your active listening from external to internal. So directing that hearing, that active listening, imagining that those satellite dishes have turned away from the outside and they are now directed towards your ear canals. Seeing the darkness of those ear canals and seeing your mind and then hearing your ears. Listening internally. What does it sound like inside your head? Can you soften the legs just a little more? Can you let those heels perhaps roll out or in? What is the natural inclination of your hip joints? Where do your legs actually want to roll? And with your next breath, very gently beginning to just slide that right foot down the wall, joining in with the left. Coming into a Supta Baddha Konasana, bound angle, or reclined bound angle since we're lying down and it's Supta. Just noticing what has happened in the pelvis and the lower back now that you've adjusted your feet, you've adjusted your legs. Where is your bottom pulling towards? Where does it feel like you have to work now? How do you hold it all together here? Because now you can't draw your lower back all the way down because your pelvis is being pulled in a different direction by your hips, by your legs, by your knees, and by your ankles. So now feel how you can put the least amount of effort into the upper body. Just let the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists, the fingers gently curling in towards the palms of the hands. But feel that there is some work happening in the legs and in the lower back. There's some effort there to hold the legs in this position, even though we want to relax completely. So see if we can just let those. See if you can let the knees drop a little further out to the side, but see what happens again then in the hips and the lower back. How does that feel for you? Maybe you can let those heels draw a little closer down towards your body. What does that do? Can you let the lower back again and the bottom peel slightly away from the ground? You can bring your hands to the insides of your thighs and just touch, just feel there. Give a little bit of love. Maybe you can explore the outer edges of the thighs and the knees. Take a breath. Just rest the hands down again. Come back to those inner thighs, come back to the hips, come back to the lower back. What can you feel? With your next breath, ever so slightly, gently, slantly, placing your left foot down on the ground, right foot down on the ground. It's a wall. And let the heels drop even further down towards your bum. Draw your heels down to your bum. Keep your feet flat on the wall for a moment, and then push slightly into the soles of your feet, into the wall. Soften your chin to your chest. Inhale as you exhale. Release that, soften it. Let the heels peel away from the wall. More than likely just the balls of your feet or your toes only may be on the wall. And then bring the hands onto the shins and draw the knees into the chest. Soften that chin again. I'm a compulsive chin softener. And then we're just going to take our short little waterfall. Extend the legs up towards the ceiling. So your heels are in line with your hips and they're not on the wall. Again, take the hands to a place that feels good for you, either out to the side, at shoulder height, or keeping them a little closer to the body in more of a Shavasana sort of a place. Maybe you want to cactus them. Oh, I do like that. Sometimes find that with the cactused arms, I get a nice little release in my rib cage. Maybe there's a sigh. Chin to chest. Stay with the breath. If this at any point becomes too much for you, you've got that wall there to support you. So anytime you just want to pop your heels back onto the wall and take a little rest, you can do that. You can totally do that. Stay with the breath. Bring your awareness again to the sounds that you can hear in the distance. Just flitting from sound to sound. And with your next breath, bring your knees into the chest. Give them a squeeze. Now, if plow is very, very natural to you, if plow is super easy for you, then you are so welcome to place your hands on the floor and drop into a plow. But if plow is not accessible for you here, please don't worry about doing it. You will just bring your knees into your chest and you'll drop over into your twist so long. So coming over onto your right-hand side, walking your feet over the wall, dropping down into your twist, extending the left arm out to the side, using your right hand on your right knee. You're in that lovely twist. If you are enjoying your plow for a moment, stay there for a breath or two. Really working into the plow if it feels delicious for you. And then you know where everyone is. We're waiting for you in a twist. But don't rush also. Take your time, enjoy yourself here. Adjust your socks like I just did. Let's all meet in that twist, coming over to the right if you haven't been there yet. And we're there for 3 more breaths. You just gotta watch out with this one if you've got props here. Just feel how far you can go in the twist if your back is quite highly supported by props. Last breath, walk it back up to center. And then over to the left. And over to the right goes your gaze, left hand onto the right knee. Try and make sure both shoulders are nice and flat. The soles of your feet are somewhere on the wall. Inhale, take a breath, exhale. See if you can lift that right arm up off the ground and then extend it a little further away and then kind of peel it back down to the ground super, super slow, and then see if there's a little more reach into the side body of that twist. And then just be soft for these last few breaths. Relax, everything. Stay here. Come back to the breath, come back to the body. And then with your next breath, using your right hand, swing it over to the left hand side. Come onto your left hand side. Using your right hand, push yourself up. And then you're going to take your props away and walk your knees right up to the wall, taking your shins up the wall. Now, you're going to reach for one of your props. Again, you can go as high with this as you want, but I think it's better to keep this a little bit lower. So I'd use one blanket here. And then you're settling your hips. Must make sure that your hips are supported by your prop. Coming into just a restful pose here initially with your shins up the wall. Just making a little pillow for your forehead and resting the forehead down. Oh yeah. You should feel how you might feel a little click or a little bit of traction in the lower back. See if you can walk your elbows even further out and lower the chest down even more. You may even want to go full cactus here and turn the cheek to one side. Oh yes, that's a good idea. Try that. Can you get any softer? And turn your cheek to the other side if you're in full cactus with a cheek. And then from here we're going to move into a little sphinx. So bring your hands closer to your body, closer to below your shoulders, and scoop yourself up, coming onto forearms. Take a moment to sort of yang your way into this. In other words, make it quite active. Pull the chest forward, come up onto your hands for a moment, really drawing the chest in between the upper arms and getting this really juicy alignment. And in our yin, we're mostly looking for kind of skeletal connection. So feel how your elbows are directly below your shoulders. Once you feel like you're basically supporting yourself with your skeleton, so your muscles don't need to really engage here in your arms at all. It's your skeleton that's propping you up. As you exhale, just soften the chin down and towards the chest, and you can settle into this in whatever way is comfortable for you here now, or uncomfortable. It's yin. Just noticing any thoughts that are coming up for you, any feelings. One of the things that I love about my yin practice is that it gives me space and time. So it's not so much about shutting the mind down or controlling your thoughts or stopping thinking. It's about carving out space to allow the things that are in the very depths of you to begin to surface so that you can see them, know them, and embrace them because they are you, they're bits of you. Seeing all of the self, accepting, loving, even things we don't like. And last breath. From here we're going to come up to a seal. So you're going to take your hands slightly further out to the edges of your mat and push up. Oh, I hope that's as good for you as it is for me. Remember, in your yin, it's okay to kind of like let the elbows lock a little bit. Obviously, if you want to go a little bit higher, you're going to go more intense, you can walk your hands back. Oh, that was actually quite nice. I'm glad I did that. And if seal is like, that's too much, then you stay down in your Sphinx, where you take a little rest. Come all the way back down onto your tummy again. Cactus those arms. Relax your bum. Relax your bum. Just let the chin drop into the chest, lengthening the back of the neck. Let the head be very heavy. This is quite intense, so if at any point this gets too much, you just come out. I'm only going to be here for another breath or two. Coming out of this back bend on the exhale. So inhale, maybe lifting a slight bit higher, and then as you exhale, bending into those elbows, bringing them tight into the waist. I came in a little bit for the intensity. Coming back to your Sphinx. Let your torso sink between your shoulders. So let your chest sink between the shoulders and just check in with the neck, sliding the chin across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. And then let that head be super heavy. You may even want to bring your hands off of the floor and just touching very lightly the back of your head. With your hands, with your fingers, sort of cradling the head even. Keep drawing the shoulders away from the ears though. And then release, put those hands back down on the ground. Inhale, exhale. Walk your hands forward, come all the way down. Either cactus or making a pillow with your hands. Oh, yeah. Sigh it out. Let the head be very heavy. Every few moments, I like to walk my fingers a little further up, bringing my elbows more and more in line with my shoulders. Swapping cheeks. Bringing awareness again to the lower back. Pubic bone resting into your blanket or your pillow. And pelvis is super heavy. And last breath. From here, bring your hands further back to help you up. Pressing into your right hand and shift your weight over to the right. Dropping your legs out behind you. Keeping your shins pressed onto the wall. Extend your right arm above your head. Take your proper way if it's in the way, if you're kind of lying half on it. Extend that arm out to the side. And then pull your right arm up, Jane Fonda supporting your head. Bring your left hand onto your hip and then extend your left heel up the wall. Adjust your pants. And then relax it. So then you're going to kind of like just take the inner edge of your foot and your big toe and drop it towards the wall so that the hip is rotating more internally. And you're just going to rest it there. Try and take your right elbow and inner upper arm further along the ground. And then either having your left hand on the floor, on the hip, or even all the way around, just resting into the lower back. We're not holding this for terribly long. But as the yin goes, see what you can soften. And then from here, take that left knee, draw it away from the wall, and drop it out to the side, toes turning out the inside edge of your foot, the instep down to the ground. Lie back onto your tummy and then let that right shin slide back up the wall. Draw your left knee a little further away so that you're flattening further down onto the thigh crease and the pelvis. And then again, just cactus yourself down. Allow the weight of the belly to just soften down to the ground. Let the belly drop. Let the left knee get even heavier. Let the left ankle get even heavier. And with your next breath, bring your left hand under your shoulder. Push yourself up so that you're supported by your right forearm and your left hand. And slide that leg back up the wall, swapping sides. So extending the left arm along the floor, rolling onto your left side, letting the left foot drop out. And extending the right leg up against the wall, flexing initially, taking the heel onto the wall, and then relax it. Let the instep, the big toe, Jane Fonda the head. Hand either on the floor, on the hip, or out behind you into the low back. Relax the bottom leg that's trying to support you against the wall. You may find that your shin is pressing into the wall to support you. Pull it away from that wall very slightly and let things roll where they may. And on your next breath, you know where we're going. Releasing your left hand, bring your right hand over onto the floor to help you bring the left shin back up and draw the right knee out to the side. Cactusing both arms. And see if you can draw that right knee a little bit further away, flattening the pubic bone, the thigh crease, the inner thigh, getting as much of that space down to the ground. Right toes are pointing out, instep is flat on the ground. Let it be heavy. The arms are pretty much wherever feels good for you. Guys, I can smell the flowers in the vase right from where I am. Such a beautiful centering feeling. Literally smelling the flowers. What can you smell in your environment? Take a good deep breath in and see what colorful hues of scent there are. Soften your left quadricep. And let your left foot pull slightly away from the wall, making that space between the top of your ankle and the wall. Last breath. Bring your right hand underneath your shoulder to push yourself up. You're being supported by your left forearm and your right hand. Draw that right leg back up to the wall and then dropping over onto your right hand side again to push yourself far enough away from the wall to set up for Shavasana. So essentially just dragging yourself away from the wall, coming onto your sit bones, rolling down onto your back. Oh, I'm going to take a little happy baby here. Oh, look how perfectly positioned my blanket is. And I love this. You can have a blanket or a pillow underneath your head in yin. Oh, it's so luxurious. Come up to a little happy baby. Oh, and that should feel... Hopefully that feels really good. Release your happy baby down, and then you're going to take your blanket, your prop, whatever you got there, to come to a supported bridge. So bringing that underneath the lower back. It must be right underneath the sacrum, guys. This is really important. It must be right underneath the sacrum. So that smooth part of your lower back. It's actually quite nice to come all the way up into the bridge here. Feel that tailbone tucking, the quads engaging, and then lower your lower back down onto the blanket support or your block support or pillow support. You got there. Soften the chin to the chest. Settling into your supported bridge. Walk your feet to the edges of the mat and drop the knees in towards each other for constructive rest. Just sort of feel what happens in the pelvis and the lower back there. And also extend the legs out in front of you. If your feet are right by the wall, it's actually quite nice to just flex into the wall, kick into the wall, give your bum a squeeze. If your feet aren't near the wall, that's okay. Then just extend your legs, let your feet flop out to the side, all good. We're not going to be there very long. Just feel that very gentle stretch across the psoas. And with your next breath, bending into the feet again. Knees at least, not your feet. Lifting your tailbone up, lifting your bottom up, going all the way up into the full bridge. That's a good thing to do after that. You're not staying up there, you're just going to lower down, upper back, middle back, lower back. Feel the moment of the rebound there. Knees to your chest, last squeeze. If there's a last sort of a twisty thing or any other last really lovely thing that you like to do, closes your practice off for yourself, then you go ahead and do that. We're heading towards Shavasana, that's what's happening. Getting your warm things, eye pillows. For Shavasana, making sure that you are definitely not touching the feet with the wall with your feet. Taking your time to settle into Shavasana. Wriggle and jiggle. Adjust your clothes. eye pillows. Begin to lengthen and deepen the breath. Come back to the body. Feel the weight of the body just resting in the ground. As you come into your rest, into your Shavasana, just remembering your Sankalpa, your intention for today. And as we rest here, releasing that Sankalpa, releasing that prayer, that declaration into the universe. Resting here in trust, in faith, that the divine, the universe, the universal field, God, whatever you want to, Jesus, Allah, whatever the incarnation is of your divinity, just releasing that prayer towards that power. And rest in the knowledge that you are loved and supported. I'm going to leave you here in this place of rest. So taking your time to come out when you are ready. Thank you for joining me.